Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Friday. It's the IT hour again, last Friday of the month and World Sysadmin Day. Yay! Happy World Sysadmin Day. Thank you all for all you do. We really do appreciate you. Special thanks to Stuart for reminding me because I've been so preoccupied with all that we have going on that I forgot to drop that in my notes. So, welcome, y'all. We're glad to have you. We've got a couple of guests here. One you've seen before, and we have someone new here today. So, Hari, welcome back. Hari's one of our product managers, and Nick is new to the show, part of engineering. So, Nick, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, Nick is debuting today. So,
Yeah,
glad to be here.
absolutely. Yeah, Chris says happy Sysadmin Day in the chat here. We've got a lot of our usuals I'm seeing in the list here. Sanisa, Tiernan, Matt, Allen, hello. Rob, hey there. Joe, Kelly, hey Kelly. Sam, Shane, Julian, Chris, Carol, Brian, welcome back. Mark, Josh, Chris, C, Artem, KK, Mike, another Kelly. I love it when we have two Kellys. Joe and Stephen, welcome to y'all. We are glad to have you on this wonderful Friday and Sysadmin Day. Yes, Rob says, imagine if Sysadmin Day was last Friday. That would not have been nearly as fun to celebrate being an admin as it is when today is quieter so far. We'll cross our fingers that we don't mess that up by acknowledging it out loud, right? All right. Well, we are glad to have everyone here. And maybe after we get done with a couple of the main things here, we'll circle back and do something fun for Sysadmin Day. I mean, anybody up for a random drawing for, I don't know, maybe a gift card or two? We haven't done that in a while. Sam says, I'm remote today. Don't jinx it. That's why I'm saying hopefully we don't by acknowledging it. Shh. All right. Usual agenda today. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in community, and then we're going to talk about our main topic, Windows MDM CSP policies. Don't try to say that 10 times fast because you won't be able to do it. And let me flip over to what we have going on. So there are a couple of new PowerShell scripts in the script repo, thanks to Jurgen. There's one for BitLocker to barcode. This is a script to acquire a BitLocker recovery key and display as barcodes. That can definitely come in handy, especially when I read another thing in the news later. And then also how to bulk import custom policies from registry files based on GPOs. And that's an update considering some previous articles. All right. In best practices, Sean has written about Okta device trust with JumpCloud for macOS and Windows. And in security and networks, in Carmichael has a question about shared signals framework, SSF config. He wants to know about a custom connector to set up JumpCloud as the identity manager to Apple Business Manager. So if you have any insight there, please go and help. And then in best practices, Nick Lonnie wants to know about pushing accounts and identities from JumpCloud to other platforms, and that is titled JC Export Account. And one last thing, our CEO, Raj, has written a blog post about JumpCloud's perspective on July's global IT outage. And he has written some things about, some tips and tricks and things like that. So we have a post in the community referencing that blog post. But what we would like you to do is read the blog post and then come back to the community post and talk a little bit about that article and what you think, and maybe give us your feedback on those tips and what you're going to be doing going forward. I think a lot of people are thinking about, am I going to change how I do things? Am I going to change some policies and things like that? So we're asking to hear from you about what you might be doing differently going forward. And you can comment on that post in the community. All of these links will be in our show notes afterward. So, but I will link this one in particular in the chat so that you can find it more easily. And I like Rob's comment. I was talking to someone and they thought I had said MDM sus policies, not CISP policies or CSP. I mean, depending on how badly they're implemented, I guess you're right. I guess they could be a little sus. But the ones we're talking about today are definitely not sus. They are going to be useful and helpful. And Hari's going to tell us about it. And then Nick is going to tell us a little bit about the architecture and give us a demo. So start making your sacrifices to the demo gods now ahead of time, getting ready for that. And with that, that is actually it with the community news. So it's actually all yours. But before we really jump into that, Hari and Nick, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what each of you do at JumpCloud?
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Becky. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Hari. Uh, I'm a product manager at JumpCloud, part of devices team and taking care of Windows side of things. It's been 1 year I've joined JumpCloud, precisely 1 year, 7 days. So all fun. Over to you, Nick.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nick Wanner. I'm a software engineer at JumpCloud, and I work on the Windows device management team. So primarily everything around Windows management is what I do. And yeah, I've been at JumpCloud for about 4 years, so a little bit for JumpCloud.
Yeah, you got me beat by about a year, I guess. It was 3 years in April. So yeah, fun times. All right. So Hari, I think you're going to present. So let's get moving on this. See
Right.
what you
Let
got.
me share my screen here. Some. All right. So today I have some interesting news on Windows side of things to share with everyone, and later they're gonna give us a quick demo. But this is so fun. So our quick agenda over here for today: what is CSP and why we are doing it, and how does policy vision look like? What we wanted to do, what's our vision from the adoption perspective, and then our execution pathway, what we're doing now, next, later, and how does that look like, what we're releasing now and next. You'll probably see in upcoming slides. Then architecture side of things, quick insights into it, and then a quick demo. Obviously, we're going to take up questions in between. So precisely this is how our agenda going to look like for today. All right, so let me dive in. Awesome. So what's a CSP? CSP stands for Configuration Service Provider, the definition. But it's actually a framework, and it acts as an interface to read, set, modify, delete configuration settings to the device. So we can call them as CSP is a framework, and on top of it we have policies. And these policies shall be in the console, where an admin could look at them, configure them, and push to the devices or devices to devices group, just to make sure that the devices are secure, the data is secure, and they're all up and running as per devices policy and are in compliance. So for that purpose, this framework helps us um, a lot in building the policies. Now these settings, or we can call it as policies, they're mapped to register keys or files. And in general, CSP framework um, is on top of a simple XML format language. So on the console, admin would simply set the policies, but internally in the background, what happens is that the policies are translated into XML format, and from our JumpCloud MDM server, the policy information is transmitted to the endpoint, Windows 10 or 11, transmitted to the endpoint on the MDM channel. So one of the prerequisites for CSP policies to be effective on the device is the device shall be enrolled on MDM channel, and we all know the fact that Windows 10, 11 supports CSP MDM policies. Professional, enterprise, um, you know, education, IoT. These are the versions on which CSP policies works the best. Unfortunately, home is not a favorable edition because of its various nature. And yeah, so that's the CSP. And now let's look at why we are doing CSPs and what does CSPs bring onto the table. Obviously, from security standpoint, scalability, performance, overlapping conflict, and also we have added advantage, why we're doing. So let's dive into each section and see, how it's gonna benefit. All right. So talking about security, the framework, it indeed offers more reliable test policies are well defined to manage the devices. So let's take this example. Although I don't like taking this example, but let's just say we have a GPU policy, and for that policy to be effective on the device, either we might need a restart of a device, or we might need a user to log out and log in back. But for that to happen, if you're looking at a small scale organization like 10 to 50 seats, that's fine, and admin can reach out to individuals and say that, hey, we'll have to restart the device. But if you're looking at more than 100, more than 250, close to 500, more than that, that's not so possible. So thanks to Windows notification service, which actually makes the job easy. So as and when admin sets the policy and pushes to devices, as long as the device is active, the policy shall be applied on the device and they would take effect immediately, provided the policies are configured with the right values. And of course, the way we have implemented is to make sure that the policies are configured right in the console. But all in all, when we look at the security aspect, provided the device is active, as long as the policy is configured right, it would be effective on the device as and when the policy information is received, with no activations needed on the device as long as they're active. So from security standpoint and compliance standpoint, admin pushes the policy, device gets it will apply the setting whatever it is. So that's one of the added advantage. And next, like I was mentioning earlier, deployment and processing number of GPUs, certainly, might need a system boot up or login procedures for users to follow for policies to be effective on the device. But with CSPs, that's not the case. So you know n number of policies can be configured, policies can be grouped, and then it can be pushed to a single device or group of devices. The devices shall consume the policy, and now that there's no boot up or login procedures needed, you know all that a user would do is he or she would continue to do their work, but the policy is effective on the device, and boom, the device is in compliance. And that's something that every admin would wish to have. So that's our another one. And then comes, conflicting and overlapping. So maintaining coherent and well structured and efficient GPO framework may be challenging at times, or most of the times. Why? Because, like, I would again go back to my previous example, like, 10 to 10 to 15, 10 to 25. Yeah, it's fine. Admin can, you know fall back on different procedures to make sure the policy is effective on the device. But, as we have more number of policies, and as the organization would have more number of employees joining, it might be, a tough job for admin to make sure all the devices are compliant with the set policies. And not just that, there could be some conflicts, there could be some overlaps, but with CSPs, like mentioned before, the configurations are so well defined, they're granular at policy level. So we can drill down, an admin can drill down to the, lowest value as possible at the configuration level and set the policies, and that makes, the device compliant enough. Not just that, we have one such policy called as control conflict policy. And what it makes is that, let's look at, there could be a script, or there could be a custom GPO policy, or there could be a predefined GPO policy trying to set one of the registry value. And now, we have a similar policy on MDM channel. And ultimately, because of, the CSP's advantage or the framework advantage, and its, lightweight in nature, uh, it's always better to have MDM policies win over GPO. So with this control conflict policy, what we're doing internally is that we make sure that the device always, listens to the MDM value whenever there's a conflicting policy. Meaning, you have a policy on GPU and the similar policies on MDM. We make sure that the device sets the value that's coming on the MDM, which is, on the CSP policy. That tells, like, there's going to be never conflict, and ultimately, there wouldn't be any unintended outcomes. So there's a desired key, desired value set that's coming up on the MDM channel via CSP policy. As simple as that. And next thing, right. So like I mentioned, CSP framework offers granular level of configurations, but most importantly, with this framework, we can set policies at the device level and also at the user level. So policies configured at the device level will take, will be effective on the device independent to who logged in. The policy set at the user level will be effective only when the specific user logs in. So at this point in time, our strategy is to, go big on device level policies, but, user level policies is one of the added advantage that every admin would love to have in the platform. So these are, the core advantages for us to why we have to do, and this is the time for us to bring in MDM policies into Windows Policy Manager. So with that, let's look at our policy vision. What's our vision? So we first wanted to, release few set of policies, more related to network side of things, because, security is the key, and one of the various things, a device can be attacked, network is the most important. So we have targeted, network based policies in our first batch of policies on CSPs. So that's what we are doing now in Q3. But in the next half of the year, our vision is to mature our CSP policy library by introducing, a lot more CSPs rapidly, because, we have now built a policy engine which Nick is going to talk about. So the policy engine helps us to build policies at a rapid pace, so that, like, we can mature the whole policy library, and from there, we could go to full separation of server and desktop policy. Why? Because, like I mentioned earlier, CSP policies at this point in time are not supported for server and home editions. So For server and home edition devices, we still need to have GPUs, and we will have GPUs for some time. However, for rest of the editions, we're going to look at the separation of the policies, and we hope that Microsoft could come and at any point in time and say that starting today, CSPs can be supported on server editions as well. We wish to see that, but until then, uh, we'll continue to have GPUs, and we're going to slowly separate that and move all our you know GPUs to CSPs on Windows 11 Professional, Enterprise, Business, and IoT editions. So this is how our vision look like, and we continue to work on um, making sure that the devices are compliant enough with the set policies, so that not just the device but also the data is in intact with the security perspective. So this is our policy vision, and with that, now let's look at our execution pathway. So now next later, um, extreme left is what we are currently working on. Um, Wi-Fi, VPN, install root certificates, Bluetooth, SCAP, and Windows notification services. So these are the things we are focusing at this point in time. Um, and some of the policies are already in EA. I'm going to talk about our strategy in a bit, but some of the policies are already in EA, but we are going GA with the set policies on 29th July, that is Monday. Fairly straightforward. And then we're going to march towards the next set of policies: app locker, restrict file transfer over Bluetooth, account management, BitLocker, Defender, config refresh, and time synchronization. So that's our next. And ultimately in 2025, we're going to look at full separation from server and desktop. And we're going to also look at the capabilities on providing user-based policies. Nothing planned yet, but that's in our pre discussion phase. But and ultimately we're going to have migration from GPS to CSP, and that's all planned for our next year. So this is our execution pathway. That's how it looks like. And let's look at phase one rollout strategy. Like I mentioned, some of the policies are already in EA, being actively, configured. Good news so far. Things are working, and then we're gonna go GA with all these policies on 29th July. So before I hand it over to Nick, any questions can I answer?
I have not seen any serious questions in the chat beyond why not deploy on a Friday? Ducks and runs. That was Kelly. So
So we have seen what happens on Friday last week. So,
yeah, and we're not going to do that. But very
yeah.
excited to see that it is generally available on Monday. So super. Oh, Kelly's saying might have missed it. What versions of Windows will this support?
Windows 10, 11, Professional, Enterprise, Business, and IoT versions.
Very nice.
All right. Over to my partner, Nick. Walk us through.
Thanks, Harry. Yeah, so I'm going to go over some of the technical considerations and some of the changes we've made to support MDM CSP policy within our architecture. So Windows MDM is relatively new to JumpCloud over the last couple of years. And so in order to build out these CSP policies quickly, we wanted to have a kind of a flexible architecture that we could quickly iterate on, to so that we can roll out new policy templates fast. So what we one of the main goals was to be able to create or to extend our policy templates to be able to support new new CSP policies. So the policy templates are something that we use for all of our policies, whether it's Windows, Mac, MDM, or GPO policies. And so we've added a new schema to these templates, and this is all internal to our services, to these templates so that we can configure the specific CSP settings in order to manage that policy on a device. So we created this new schema and these templates, and the schema defines the UI that is used to configure the policies within the admin portal. So the admin portal will read these templates to display what can be configured, and then they save that configuration, and then from there it is bound to a device or any devices that are MDM enrolled, and then that goes to our Microsoft MDM service within JumpCloud, and we create an association between this template configuration and the MDM device. And with that, then when the device syncs with us, which currently is done every 15 minutes, but we will be changing that with our Win support that we announced. So with that, we'll be polling less often, but instead pushing changes to the device as they come in. So the policy engine, we've created a new policy engine that takes these templates and determines what needs to happen on the device based upon the current state of that policy on the device, whether it needs to be installed, updated, or removed from the device. The device checks in, and then we send the commands to that device to perform that action, and then the device reports back those policy results to our MDM service, and those trickle back up to the admin portal where you can see the statuses of the policies. So I will demo all that in a bit. Let's see. We can go to the next slide, I think. So where do the policies reside within JumpCloud? So they reside basically where all the other policies for Windows reside today, within the policy management section of the admin portal. And from there, you can select Windows, and you can search for the particular policy, like certificates, in which case it shows this new policy, and you can search by category, and then you can click configure this policy. And when you do that, you can see this is the install certificate policy, and it has the supported versions of Windows there on the left, and the policy kind of behavior is that it must be assigned or bound to a device that is Windows MDM. Otherwise, it will not be applied to that device. And so this policy allows you to configure a certificate, whether a root or a CA certificate, on a device. And when you add, modify, or delete these policies, we have DI events that are generated for all those conditions. Okay. So,
all right, before you dive in, I think this might be kind of tongue-in-cheek, but maybe not at the same time. Is there a policy that is basically Copilot kill it with fire? I think someone wants to block Copilot.
Right. Yes, there is a CSP policy, but actively that's being modified on weekly basis by Microsoft. So AI is next big thing that's happening out there. within Microsoft, and it's not currently stable enough to integrate, but it's in our radar, and we're gonna have it. Not just Copilot, but we are also looking at other AI policies like recall. They are in our radar, and we see that those policies are being updated quite frequently. So they're currently in pre beta for us, but yes, we have it.
Great. Thank you. All right. Go ahead, Nick. Let's get to that demo.
Okay. Let me share my screen. All right, so I'm going to demo the Wi-Fi policy, or the Wi-Fi MDM policy. So I already have a device that is bound, or that is enrolled in MDM. So I will just configure the Wi-Fi policy. So here in policy management, I'll add a new Windows policy, and within here you can search for Wi-Fi and then configure this policy. So similar to the certificate policy, this one also, must be enrolled in MDM to apply this to a device. And then settings are pretty simple on this. We just need to specify the SSID, and then you can select auto join, or if this is a hidden network, and then you select the security type, and then configure the password. So I will go ahead and do that and save that configuration. And then just to show really fast, I do have this device here that is not bound to that policy yet. And if I go over to that device, you can see it is enrolled in MDM. And currently we're managing the control policy conflict, which is what Hari was talking about, which specifies to the device that it should prioritize or apply CSP policies over GPO policies. And then we have an experience policy, which just disables the unenrollment from unenrolling from MDM by the user. And then we have the agent installed through MDM. So we'll see when I configure the Wi-Fi policy, we will get another option there, or we'll see that it is another policy controlled or managed by JumpCloud. So I'll go ahead and bind it to this device and apply that. And then currently, up until Monday, we have the device is doing a poll every 15 minutes. So in order to get this policy applied, we need to force the device to check in. But yeah, once we have the WNS support, our MDM service will send a notification directly to the device to tell it to check in automatically. So I'll go and force the device to sync with our service by clicking the sync button. And this display does not refresh automatically, so I'll kind of jump out and jump back in. But then you should see now we have Wi-Fi. So if I go back, well, let's actually, you can see now also if I go into my Wi-Fi settings, and you can also see the known networks. You'll see that one I just configured right here was added, and it was managed by a company policy. So I can go back in there again. Yeah, see added by company policy, SCL. And if I want, then I can go and actually connect to that network and I do not need to enter a password. So that shows that the policy was configured correctly. And if I go back into this policy management, of course, we have the status for that policy. It says it was successfully applied, and you can view the details of that. And this is actually the CSP URL that we are configuring for this policy. And this just means that we have created a command to kind of get the status of that policy on the device. We did a get and make sure that that policy or that CSP setting was set. And here's the SSID, and it just says, yes, we found it. It was correctly installed on our device. It returns a status of success. Yes, I think that is the demo portion of this, and the other policies work in a similar way. So.
All right, we had a question from Kelly. What sort of notifications are there if a policy fails?
Right. So at this point in time, so Nick, if you could go to the device, we can clearly show that we have policy results section depicting the status of a policy, set of policies and what's the status. And if we go into policy results tab, we're gonna get more information, more information to it. Now, what currently we are working on is alert mechanism with some set conditions um, through which an admin would be alerted if something goes wrong on the policy side of things. That's currently work in progress. I think it will be released in a month to come, probably end of Q3 or mid Q3. I'm not sure, but we certainly working on alert mechanism.
Awesome. Thank you. I see that you did answer it in the chat, but I thought it's a good idea to go ahead and answer it out loud for our viewers as well. So thank you.
Awesome.
All right, let's see. I think that was the only one I saw.
It's great that demo worked today.
Yes. You dry runs.
Yeah, it can be unpredictable depending on connections, among other things. All right, Hari, did you have anything after the demo, or was that?
That's a wrap from our end. But yeah, we can continue to talk about policies and our roadmap. But but we are at the right time where while we are working on next set of policies, it's a very good time for us to listen to customers, look at what policies are missing within JumpCloud. We could get the list, we could add them to our backlog, and now that we have policy engine in place, so it helps us to build policies at a rapid pace and keep releasing them as and when they are ready. So this is indeed a good time for us to listen to the policies from customers and add it to backlog.
Wonderful. So make those suggestions. I think you know what I'm going to say next. Drum roll. It's going to be feature request. I'm putting the link in the chat. We do this pretty much every Friday. Add your feature request. So if you think of a policy or something else that goes along with this that you would like to see, add it in a feature request so that we can get it sent over to the team. So
right.
You know what to do.
And if you wish to talk to us, you guys know where to find us. You can contact us and we can get on the call. We can do the discovery, we can understand more about the pain point, and then ultimately we're going to build solution to it, be it with policies or with scripts or anything, whichever works. But we are here to listen to the problem.
So Joe says, thank you for this work. Copilot recall, pre-installed bloat apps, advertising, telemetry, Bing, search, integrated to OS, all need to burn. So
Yeah.
I think that means the more they can block, the better. That control, right?
You know what, Joe? We have recall policy built, but the moment we test it, it's not working. And when we go back to the documentation, they have updated certain things. And then we incorporate it and test it, not working. We went back to the documentation, we see it getting updated. So we reached out to our friends at Microsoft and we wanted to understand what's happening on AI. And we got to know that currently it's not that stable, but um, in quite some time after GA, you will have recall policy published as well. But yeah, other policies, we will add them.
That's awesome to hear. So I guess stay tuned for when we can get that recall working, when I guess Microsoft stops changing things and gets it to where we can get that stable. Chris says not that stable was not in their big AI marketing push. No, I don't think that was, Chris. But then again, a lot of the AI features in a lot of the different things that are out there have they're getting better, but there's still a lot to be desired around giving you accurate answers and not gathering a bunch of stuff and then drawing their own conclusions, writing their own conclusions, or as we affectionately call it, hallucinating. So, it'll get there eventually. And I don't know if that's good or bad. If it gets so good that you can't tell if the answers are right or not. I mean, hopefully they'll just get good enough to where they're good answers. So we'll cross our fingers on that. And Sam, no, you cannot make a feature request for a button that makes me sing. It's completely random. It's like an RNG. Sorry. And it's better in person. So, it works better in person. You say a random phrase, I think of a song, and I sing it. I don't do it so much on this show because we stream to YouTube and then it's saved. And when I'm somewhere in person, it's mostly not saved. So that was not me. If you heard that in the background, my cat was just making a noise. Sally's behind me somewhere. So no, I did not meow, Rob. Sorry. All right, with that, if you have any more questions, please continue to put them in the chat. Otherwise, we will jump over to the news because there's a few things going on we should probably chat about. Several, in fact. Let's take a look. So we've been talking about Microsoft and well, there's another blue screen on Microsoft that cannot be blamed on the incident last week. Believe it or not, there's another blue screen popping up on some Windows machines. Microsoft says some Windows 11 devices will see a blue BitLocker recovery screen at boot after installing the July Windows security update. The issue isn't widespread, but those impacted will have to enter a recovery key to get a PC to boot properly. A fix is on the way. So going back to that thing we talked about earlier, that PowerShell that Jurgen wrote, that's a script to acquire a BitLocker recovery key. Might be a good time to do that, just in case. So yeah, please be on the lookout for that. Now, here's the one. This is kind of a long one, but I think this is going to be important for people to be aware of and take a look at. So, Secure Boot is broken on 200 plus models from 5 big device makers, and this was in Ars Technica. And these keys were labeled "Do Not Trust," but nearly 500 device models use them anyway. So back in 2012, ancient history, an industry-wide coalition of hardware and software makers adopted Secure Boot to protect against a long-looming security threat. The threat was the specter of malware that could infect the BIOS, and from there it could remain immune to detection and removal and could load even before the OS and security apps did. So this threat was largely theoretical and fueled in part by the creation of IC Lord BIOS Kit by a Chinese researcher in 2007. It was a rootkit, and I'm sure most of you know what a rootkit is, but this proof of concept demonstrated that such BIOS rootkits weren't only feasible, they were powerful. And so in 2011, the threat became a reality with the discovery of Mebromi, the first known BIOS rootkit to be used in the wild. Okay, so all of that said, Secure Boot architects hashed out a complex new way to shore up security in the pre-boot environment built into UEFI. It would become the successor to BIOS, and it would use public key cryptography to block the loading of any code that wasn't signed with a pre-approved digital signature. Okay, now on Thursday, researchers from the security firm Binarly revealed that Secure Boot is completely compromised on more than 200 device models sold by Acer, Dell, Gigabyte, Intel, and Supermicro. The cause is a cryptographic key underpinning Secure Boot on those models, and it was compromised in 2022. In a public GitHub repository committed in December of that year, someone working for multiple US-based device manufacturers published what is known as a platform key, the crypto key that forms the root of trust anchor between the hardware device and firmware that runs it. The repository included the private portion of the platform key in an encrypted form. The encrypted file, however, was protected by a 4-character password, a decision that made it trivial for Binarly and anyone else with even a passing curiosity to crack the passcode and retrieve the corresponding plain text. It's basically an unlimited Secure Boot bypass for those devices that use this platform key. So until device manufacturers or OEMs provide firmware updates, anyone can basically execute malware or untrusted code during system boot. Look, this is a really long and interesting article from Ars Technica. This will be in the show notes. The table at the end of the article lists it has a list of 215 devices that use the compromised key. I mean, it's got the whole list there. Strongly recommend that you go take a look at it, compare it if you happen to have any of those devices by those manufacturers, or if you have family, like some older relatives that might need a little bit of help and stuff, to go look at that. So, lots there. And Rob says rootkits. All right, who inserted a Sony music CD? If you know, you know. We were talking a little bit about AI. OpenAI hopes to take on Google with Search GPT. So they have a prototype that will provide small natural language. It has a prototype which will provide small natural language summaries in addition to web page links. So OpenAI's GPT 4.0 powered search engine has arrived, and you can sign up for the wait list. And they plan to integrate the best of search features directly into ChatGPT at some big point. Basically, it's supposedly not just your run-of-the-mill search engine. It's going to work kind of like Google AI overviews or current Bing search responses, but what they say with a twist. Users will type in a prompt in ChatGPT-like interface, and the AI will generate a response with several inline links to where it sourced its information from the web. Depending on the question, like asking for lists of music festivals, blah, 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 the AI might respond with blurbs with direct links to each site. The reason they say this is different because it's not these long AI summaries of articles where you then don't wind up visiting the site that actually produced it. So it'll have shorter blurbs and links to all of that. So stay tuned for more there. And I don't know if any of you have already signed up for the beta on that or not. Which, by the way, Nick and Hari, if you have any comments on any of these, feel free to jump in or make fun of it. I mean, we tend to make fun of the absurdity of some of these. Speaking of Google search, have you heard about the latest about Reddit? Non-Google search engines are blocked from showing Reddit results. An updated robots text file hits Bing and others without a Reddit deal. So recent discussions on Reddit are no longer showing up on non-Google search engine results. The absence is the result of updates to Reddit's content policy that bans crawling its site without agreeing to Reddit's rules, which bar using Reddit content for AI training without Reddit's explicit consent. As reported by 404 Media, using site:/reddit.com on non-Google search engines, including Bing, DuckDuckGo, Mojik, brings up minimal or no Reddit results from the past week. Ars Technica made searches on these and other search engines and can confirm the findings. Brave, for example, brings up a few Reddit results sometimes, but not nearly as many as what appears on Google. The protocol states Reddit believes in an open internet, but not the misuse of public content. That's Reddit's robots exclusion protocol. And ahead of the changes, Reddit said it had seen an uptick in obviously commercial entities who scrape Reddit and argue that they are not bound by our terms or policies. Worse, they hide behind the robots text and say that they can use Reddit content for any use case they want. Last month, Reddit said that any good faith actor could reach out and try to work with the company linking to an online forum. However, Colin Hayhurst, Mojik's CEO, said via email that he reached out to Reddit after he was blocked, but that Reddit did not respond to any messages and emails. He noted that since 404 Media's report, Reddit CEO Steve Huffman has reached out. Wonder why. What's not clear on any of these, and maybe they're keeping it hush-hush, is whether or not these deals are pay-to-play or not. I don't know if Google paid to. I'm assuming that they did, but it hasn't really been clear as to where these other search engines are also going to have to pay to scrape Reddit so they can put it in their search results. And Kelly's thinking the same thing, meaning you can't do it until the check clears. She also says it's very interesting that they fed all of Reddit to LLM models, which is why there was another kerfuffle with them earlier this year, aside from the API one. Yeah, there was. The results that were shown were bad advice. I think that's the one you're referring to, Kelly. So they're scraping Reddit and showing them in search results, but as if they were verified answers to questions. Like putting weird things in the microwave or, stuff like that, where it was like, this is what, it doesn't say that. Well, no, I think it said it was from a Reddit user, but it didn't say like, this is from a person. It's not vetted. It's not from an expert source or anything. So you're assuming that people know that it's from Reddit and it may or may not be correct. So I think there's definitely some things they need to work out there. Like, yeah, people are searching, show Reddit results, but don't show it as if it's a verified, tried and true answer to how to repair your PC or, how to clean a stain out of your carpet when people are like, oh, just set it on fire. And people do make comments like that on Reddit. So not everyone knows to take that as a grain of salt if they've never been on there. All right. One last one. If you are a hiring manager or you are in HR, you need to really pay attention to this next one. Just read this morning and passed it on to people I know. A North Korean hacker got hired by U.S. security vendor and immediately loaded malware. KnowBe4, which I think a lot of you are familiar with, which provides security awareness training, was fooled by a stolen ID. Now, no worries, nothing bad happened, but it just goes to show you how careful we need to be about hiring practices. So KnowBe4, US-based security vendor, revealed that it unwittingly hired a North Korean hacker who attempted to load malware into the company's network. Their CEO and founder described the incident in a blog post yesterday, calling it a cautionary tale that was fortunately detected before causing any major problems. So you can be relieved about that part, but still, the fact that this happened. So first of all, no illegal access was gained and no data was lost, compromised, or exfiltrated on any KnowBe4 systems, he wrote. This is not a data breach notification. There was none. See it as an organizational learning moment I am sharing with you. If it can happen to us, it can happen to almost anyone. Don't let it happen to you. So KnowBe4 said it was looking for a software engineer for its internal IT AI team. They hired a person who it turns out was from North Korea and was using a valid but stolen US-based identity and a photo that was enhanced by artificial intelligence. So there's now an active FBI investigation amid suspicion that the worker is what KnowBe4's blog post called an insider threat nation state actor. Now, this person, they hired them through the usual process. They posted the job, did background checks, verified references, interviewed them, online, saw them, saw their face and everything. They sent them their Mac workstation. The moment it was received, it immediately started to load malware. And even though the photo provided to HR was fake, the person who interviewed for the job apparently looked enough like it to pass. And the background check and all other standard pre-hiring checks were performed. It came back as clear due to the stolen identity being used. All right, not is this only a be careful when you're hiring, but least trust or zero trust. Like, you got a new employee, don't give them access to any major systems until they're vetted and you train them and start to see how they behave and what their knowledge is and knowledge level and stuff before you give them access to anything critical. And yeah, Hari, it is scary that that's a security company that a lot of people use to try to prevent phishing attempts and things like that. So it really is, one of those cautionary tales, like, pay attention, do everything you can. And they did. They tried to do everything right by doing an an interview where they could see the person, compare it to their ID, all of that stuff. But we still need to be vigilant anyway. All right. Well, with that, sobering thought of hiring practices and a big case for zero trust, it's 12:30 here, which means we're at the end of our hour. So we did it. We made it. Heading into the end of Friday. Thank you all for joining. All right. Love it, Harry. Let's see. Sorry, Hari. Aha. See, I got the... Sometimes it works, or if I do it too close to my face, it won't do it right. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a great, relaxing last weekend in July. Hopefully it won't be too hot. We've had so many thunderstorms here that it's just been muggy. But I hope you do something fun this weekend. And we will see you in August. Don't know where the time's going, but August it is. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.